On behalf of Scholas, I'd like to thank you. I know from experience that you couldn't given this honor to a better organization. I'm Delkys Ortiz Pena. I am 20 years old. And when I was asked to speak here today, I was wondering what could possible a 20-year-old could say to a group of successful, important people like you about life. What I can tell you about is my life and all the wonderful, kind people who have helped me to accomplish my journey. I was born in the Dominican Republic, where I live with my mother, father, brother, and sisters. My father was, as they say here in America, pretty old school. That's okay. But what wasn't okay was that he was abusive to my mother. He would belittle her in front of her co-workers, and he would hit her in front of her family. In my freshman year of high school, I began to suffer from epileptic seizures. My father told me that I was faking them. I wish that had been true. My condition became worse, and the doctors there were unable to help me. At the same time I was dealing with my condition, my mother was dealing with more abuse from my father. And I didn't know how to help her. One day, my father went too far. That day, my mother decided to gather up our brother and sisters and flee to America, where we could find shelter from the abuse and the medical care I needed. My plans of going to college in the Dominican Republic were put on hold. And we moved to the Bronx to live with my mother's family. They took us in, all 5 of us, into their little apartment. It was hard, but they did it because that's what families do. My mother got me the medical care I needed, and I was finally able to control my disease. So I enrolled into community college. But even though with all the financial help they've provided me with, I still owe them $800. I didn't have the money, so I didn't go back. In order to lessen the burden in my mother's family, we decided to move into our own apartment within the same building. And my mother, she worked hard all by herself to pay the rent. That day, I decided that I needed to be a man and bring some money into our house so I could help my sisters to continue their education. I don't know if you know this, but children are expensive. They need shoes and coats and school supplies. And I knew that I needed to pay for those, help my mother. So I put on my best dress shirt and slacks, and I shined my shoes until they looked like new, and went on to a job interview at McDonald's. They hired me the next day. The manager there, she knew about my condition. She was very kind. Every time that I was feeling under a lot of stress and I could feel a seizure coming on, I just had to raise my hand and she would let me go back in and collect myself. It might sound silly, but the people there taught me a lot about what it means to care for other people. And they taught me a new wonderful American expression. How may I help you? I've learned that if you ask someone how you can help and you truly mean it, In the end, you're not just helping them, you're helping yourself. Because afterwards, that person might take an interest in your life. And in my life, I've been blessed by wonderful, kind people who have taken that interest in me. And they have done for me more than I could ever thank them. Eventually, my father came to live with us. He said that he had changed, but he hadn't. My mother would never let us know that he had abused her, nor that how desperate we were financially. One day, there was a violent situation and social services came to our apartment. After that, my mom gathered all of her strength and sent my father packing. The social worker who was working with us saw something in me. And she told me about an amazing program that was being held in the Bronx that could teach you about computers and train you for a good job within IT. I never thought that I could have a career in computers, but once the thought entered my mind, it wouldn't let go. And that's how I ended up at Scholas. They accepted me into their 15-week program, no charge. Yes, they did this for free. But sure, it wasn't easy. 25 people started in my class, and only 13 graduated. Why? Because they have this rule, this one rule, 0 tolerance. You miss one class, and you were gone. Even though it wasn't easy, I was determined to not let this chance slip away from my hands. I would get out of class at 4 p.m. and rush to work making hamburgers and get home by 2 a.m. smelling like French fries. I was exhausted, but I knew that I was lucky enough to have an amazing opportunity and that I was going to take advantage of it like so many have done before me. I made sure to get to Scholas early every single day, 7 a.m., an hour early. And that's how I met Mr. Neville Prasad. He was an important IT professional who worked at a big corporation. And he taught at Scholas because he liked to share, to teach. He came all the way from Staten Island to the Bronx each and every morning. And he and I were always the first ones there. So he began to teach me all sorts of wonderful things. Not only about computers. He taught me about life, about how important it is to continue growing, and how I had to go to college. I promised him that I would, and that's a promise that I'll keep. When I graduated from Scholas, second in my class, Mr. Prasad told me that since I didn't have a college degree and I was happening to get into the worst possible job market in decades, I needed to get some experience on my resume. And he recommended me to the network engineer at Scholas, Nightui Turnage, who hired me as an intern system administrator at Scholas. Eventually, the people at Scholas got me an interview with an amazing company, Premier Technology Solutions. Scholas, with the help of Turn and Wash, got to prepare me for the most important meeting of my life. I shined my shoes even harder this time. The other candidates had master's degrees and experience. But for some reason, the people there, the people I met, they took an interest in me. took a gamble on me, and Premier hired me. Mr. Prasad said that it was obvious that I have worked harder than anyone else that they've met. And I wasn't sure, but I knew deep down in my heart that I wasn't going to disappoint them. When I went home and told my mom, she said a bunch of things in Spanish that you probably wouldn't understand. But I think that if you were there in our kitchen, the tears of joy rolling down her face would have told you everything. I love my new job. I've been able to help my family, help my sister go to college. Hey, I even have those $800 I needed, so I'm going back to college too. I was even able to pay for my mom for a trip to a family wedding in Miami. She deserved a little vacation. And since we are here to honor our heroes, I would like to honor her, my mother, Marisol Pena. I'll give back to Scholas by doing whatever I can, speaking to students, just helping out. Because I understand that all the wonderful things that may be happening to my life are just because other people have been kind and good enough to ask me how they can help and had given me a chance to show them what I can do. So thank you all. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Premier Technology Solutions. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Scholas. And thank you, Robin Hood. I won't let you down, I promise.